thanks to those that helped with our beginner class, and I see some of people from our beginner class here, and thanks to our participants that came. I felt like it was a long day, and that Saturday, you would know it, is the day that as we were finishing up our class, the last hour, and of course it's bee diseases, right, the last hour, and that storm came in, and it was like a blizzard. I went out to my car and I had to like scrape off all the sleet and ice on our cars so that we could all get home. But anyway, thanks to everybody that came to that. So next month is El Chubak, and then in May, our guest in May will be Jenna Crowder. She is the state, let me see if I say it right, not epidemiologist, how do you say, entomologist.
Yes.
And the state bee inspector. She will be here. She's going to be discussing the state of bees in Utah County, bee diseases, how to recognize them, what to do to treat them, and then she will go over varroa mites. Terry went over them a little bit in February, but she will be hitting that again, and that's always important. I just am hearing some people say their bees didn't make it through, and so we have to start looking at why our bees didn't make it through. I've had some people ask me about our bee essential oils. I'm going to send this around. You can buy them commercially, and I put them on here. Honeybee Health, Pro Bee sells it, but it's just got lemongrass oil and spearmint in it. And Man Lake sells one called Pro Health. It's lemongrass and spearmint. The one that Utah County Beekeepers has thyme in it. It's got eucalyptus oil, spearmint, lemongrass, lecithin in there. And we sell it for $20 a bottle. And I want to know what interest there is because we are out of our bulk oils and I need to order it. And just for the sake of not having oils sit around for 5 years, I kind of need to know what interest there is. So I'm going to send this around for you guys. Just put your names on there if you're interested in it. And then if you are, I will order it, get it mixed, and bring oils to our next meeting.
Shelley, why would you use that?
Okay, and why would I use it? So we use essential oils in our feed that we feed our bees. It helps with their gut health. The thymol that's in there helps them with varroa mites. And then the tracheal mites, they're really, really teeny, that go in their trachea. That also helps with that. So it just helps with bee health. Also, when they get these wet springs, it helps with their dysentery and their nosema. So yeah, that's why we use that. So a couple of things that we have right now. Bruce has some queen marking kits. Bruce, raise your hand. Those are 5, and he will show you right now is our hives that we've overwintered are going to make queens, and if you have a hive that's made more than 1 queen, you may want to isolate them. This will help mark queens, so he will show you those. And then Martin has something to go over too. You're up, Martin.
Oh, I'm up?
Yeah.
Any of those people interested that have done mini frames in the past and want mini frames, I found somebody who will make wood mini frames completely assembled for $1 each. So if you're interested, see me and I can get an order into the person and they can get them to you.
So I just want to show you really quick on these mini frames. Like you secure them in your hive, and you would do it so that it's in your, oh, this is really good.
There you go.
Oh dear.
You have to modify your frame a little bit, your box. Basically what you do is you build.
Could it be two like this?
No, what you do.
Stem down the middle.
Yeah, you have to put a stem down the middle, so here, I'll just.
So while he's kind of showing that, the reason that we do this, that he's doing this, is this goes in your honey box. They make natural comb in here, and he probably will give you the details. There's a lady in Colorado that will buy all the natural comb in these frames that you can produce. There are people that buy it, so if you're looking to have your hives be profitable, this is one way that's probably quicker than other ways to help your hive be profitable.
So basically what you do is you put a spleen this way, and then you have to router out that side, and the mini frame fits this way.
It just sits there.
So you can fit 32 mini frames in a box. So,
Would that make your hive commercial?
Repeat it.
Nah.
Repeat it.
no. Huh?
I was just gonna say
Commercial's how many you
repeat.
have. If you're having a
Repeat the
commercial
question.
hive, you have
Commercial-
multiple.
I'd have
hives.
multiple,
When
multiple,
your city
multiple
can
hives.
categorize you as commercial.
It's just a fun way to do it.
I call
Easy.
it playing bees when I start playing with those little hives.
They're fun.
But they're fun to play with.
They're not getting honey, but if
And if
someone's
you
buying
don't,
them-
yeah, like you say, if you want to make something back on your investment, the lady will buy whatever you have, and
Hi, Mike.
Those are Al's little hives that you use
Yeah.
those in.
Yes.
If he didn't say that, but.
If you want to run a mini,
you can run them in a mini, but you can run them in a big hive.
Yeah, Langstrom too, but.
yeah, I'll bring a mini next month so that we can show that with Al here. The benefit of running a mini is you've got a microcosm, so you've got a very small hive that fits those frames. And if you want to produce queens or you can do it very quickly with this small little condo. How about that? A bee condo. So, yeah, interesting things. So tonight, how many of you are new beekeepers and are getting bees this next month? You don't count. You don't count. In fact, I'll have you come up and teach. Preston's going to come up and help teach with me. Yeah. So Preston is one of our last year's Babs, and all of our Bab kids from last year have overwintered their bees. So we are really proud of them, of their success. So there are some of you that came to our beginner class, and this is going to be the Reader's Digest version of what we covered in our beginner class. But for you that are getting bees this next month, we're going to cover this so that you don't feel terrified. We also have Martin is here, raise your hand. Chris is here. Caleb is not here.
This one.
What day are
Just so you know, Bruce, Chris volunteered you, so you're on the list to help mentor.
What day are most of them coming this week?
Lee's are coming the 27th of April.
That's good.
So we have people that are mentors. I think there are 5 people that are mentors. Why can't I think of his last name's Keith Anderson. Keith is one. So am I up to 5 yet? So we have 5 people that are mentors that will help. I'm always available. I will be helping Bab kids that day, but if you have questions or I can help you, give me a call or text me. So you need to be setting up, being ready for your hive. Decide which hive, and a lot of you have already bought your hive. You need to decide, some of you bought waxed hives, perfect. If your hive is bare wood, this one's waxed on the bottom. This one's bare wood, it needs to be painted with an exterior paint to protect it. So you need to have all of that stuff done and ready to go when you get your bees. Location, location, location. Martin, I'm going to use you as the example.
You can use it as that.
So the first year, Martin picked this dandy spot in his yard that was away from everything, that the dogs weren't going to bother it, and it was away from the kids and the swing set and everything. And I'm kind of hem-hawed with him about that location. His bees got in there, and they didn't do jack at building out wax or anything. Just, went into winter with a very small colony and didn't make it through the winter. The next year, he put it in a place where it had east-facing sun so that it got. Now, is it in more of a traffic area? Yes, but it's kind of off to the side. And if you're not right in front of those bees coming out of the hive, they really don't bother you. Do they bother your family?
No, just my next door neighbor.
So, anyway, and maybe you can speak to your hive difference over there.
Well, so there was 2 differences. I thought I had a great spot because it gets sun in the morning, but that didn't quite work out. So, and that was kind of on the south side of my house. So I moved it to the north side where I had a nice runway for the bees, because you gotta make sure you have a nice big runway for them. And it gets enough morning sun, but by the afternoon, it doesn't really get any sun because of the way my trees are right there, and
You've got the afternoon shade.
I've got the afternoon shade, which I think would really help.
But
And last
his-
year they exploded,
His hives are nuts.
and last year I got lucky and I had a swarm come to me. Came right to my house, went right into a box. It was great.
So he has that location, and they are crazy there and got good genetics going on there, and you made it through with 3 hives this winter.
That's for
Yeah, so. Do you guys want to go get a chair over there?
I was gonna say, I'll move it.
And to
You
give
can
you an
take-
idea, I got like 7 gallons, I got like 7
There's
gallons
one-
of honey
there's one
last
here.
year.
Bare room.
So I don't know if you heard, he got 70 gallons of honey last year.
7.
Seven?
And then I took out 2 frames
Oh.
of this.
And then you
I had
sold
two-
those.
2 boxes,
2 boxes of mini frames,
which is.
and I sold that for about $1,000. And I didn't have to harvest any of the honey out of the mini frame. It was the greatest thing I've ever done.
So, yeah, so if you're looking at that, and that's something as we're going on, well, we might have you present on that, but that is something. Okay, so does everybody have their bees ordered? Anybody doesn't have their bees ordered? Shh. Do you know what you want to get? Because you need to get.
Nope.
Okay, so here's your choices. You can order bees from somebody. There's a lot of people on Facebook Marketplace right now, or KSL, a lot of private vendors. Be careful who you order from. We had people last year that got ghosted and lost their $180 for ordering hives. So it helps if it's somebody you know that knows them, or that they're commercial. We here at Utah County Beekeepers have relationship with beekeepers that are local. Knight Family Honey, Lee Knight. We have the honey company. They come up here from Springdale. We have Desert Castle out of Price that come up here and bring bees. So we have people that are friends of Utah County Beekeepers. Lee Knight has provided bees for our BAB for the last 15 years. So anyway, those are people that we like. The other thing I do know about Lee Knight, because this happened to my grandson, we got home to put his hive in the box and the queen was dead. Call him up, Lee, my queen's dead. Anyway, so we raced back there and got a new queen. So I just know that they back their product. So when you're ordering bees, you can order a package. A package comes in a box like this. There's 2 and 3 pound packages. I would not recommend getting a 2 pound package. It isn't a lot of bees. I would get a 3 pound package if you're going to order bees. We covered, gotta think when we covered different bee breeds. In January?
January.
In January, we covered the different bee breeds. For a brand new beekeeper, Italians are a favorite because they are hardy and they have a good history of making it through the winter.
Saskatchewan.
They're a little harder to get and they cost a little bit more money. So this is a bee package and we're going to talk about putting them in. Another way to get bees is to buy a nuke. A nuke is what you buy from a beekeeper that has split hives. A nuke is a box that is half this size, and we'll show you a picture of it here in a little bit. It's half this size and it has 5 frames in it. In those 5 frames, there are 3 frames in the middle that has a queen. It has brood of eggs and various age of brood on another one. The outside frames are honey and pollen. So if you're buying this, these bees got put together as a family 3 days ago before you got them. A nuke has an established hive that they've been living together as a family. The queen is in there, she's laying, and they're doing their thing. Nukes are more expensive than packages, but you're saving yourself 3 weeks to a month of time by buying a nuke already producing. The next way to get bees is to catch a swarm. Janelle's going to cover it. Being on the swarm list is one of the benefits of being a member of Utah County Beekeepers Association. Jen's our secretary in the back. If you pay your dues and on your membership form, if you check on there that you want to be on the swarm list, she puts you on the swarm list. That swarm list goes to Mike Schaefer, who's in the back of the room. He's our swarm coordinator. Janelle will talk about it. If you want to be on the swarm list, you need to be ready to go get a swarm. You need to let him know what area you want to go, such as North Utah County, South Utah County, East and West, so that he knows which areas you are willing to drive and go catch that swarm. Last year was a light swarm season. The year before, everybody that was on the swarm list got a swarm, and some people got more than one swarm. So that is the luck of the draw with swarms. I would say that this year's weather pattern is more like 2 years ago, where we have a lot of people making it through winter with bees, and I'm thinking we're going to see more swarms. That's my weather prediction. Okay. Do you have questions about that? Okay. So now you went and bought bees. They come like this, and you're going to pick it up. All their little legs and stingers are sticking out this wire mesh. Don't carry it like this or you'll get stung. So come around, carry it on the wood side. You're going to get handed your bees, and they're all going to be, if you can see, this queen cage is hanging from there. They're going to be around the queen, and this is sugar water in this can, and they're going to be hanging around that. Nope, I already told you that.
Yeah.
Or you can split, right?
Shelley, but if they're getting them from Lee Knight, they'll be in plastic.
There'll be a plastic.
They'll
Yeah.
be in white plastic.
I do-
containers, so
I do have one of those.
it's not in wood.
Back to my location. Again, Martin's example, make sure you got sunshine, water nearby, nectar, pollen, and protected from the elements. It's hard out in Saratoga. My son lives out there, and he has to pick an area in his yard where he is not getting gale force winds in the afternoon coming into that front of that hive. So that's a consideration if you live out there. And then freedom from disturbances. If you back up to an elementary school and you got kids throwing rocks or whatever, probably not a good place. So yeah, just somewhere where they have their flight pattern in and out without a lot of disturbances. Water, be a good neighbor. It is required by Utah statute that you have a water source for your bees within 50 feet of your hive. The thing that I believe is that if you start out with your bees with water for them and they get used to coming to your water source, they will leave your neighbor alone. They will leave your neighbor's kiddie pool alone. So get them coming to your water source. One of the things that you can do, bees have a very high sensitive nose. I don't think it's called a nose, but sense of smell. And some of the things that attract, if you have some lemongrass oil, if you just take a drop, put in your water. The other thing, surprisingly, is chlorine. Just dip your finger in the Clorox bottle and dip it in your water. And that's why they like to go to your neighbor's pool. They will start smelling that and go to your water source and use your water source. Mike likes to buy corks off of Amazon and put in his. And we had the most amazing thing. I was going to go buy some. Not Ian, Tyler. At our beginner meeting, Tyler went and got a pool noodle and cut the pool noodle. They're 99 cents at all, $1, right? Cut it like this and put them in a 5-gallon bucket and that's what he uses for his water source. Same thing as the cork, but 99 cents compared to $5 of corks. And his bees can land on that pool noodle up at the top of his water and get their drink and then fly off. Anyway, I'm gonna do that. I thought it was
You get a blue one, they might like it even better, right?
Yeah.
Blue or yellow.
Anyway, I just thought it was so smart and ingenious. So there's are some ideas.
Why?
What?
Why?
Why water?
Something like that.
Cause it biodegrades in the heat, I wouldn't use that. That noodle might put a pollute in your water.
I guess I'll have to trial it. I thought it would.
My
Wait, why do you
reasoning
need water?
behind why I'm asking is why do you have pool noodles, corks? Why do you want something there?
Because they can't swim.
They will drown.
Because they have something to land on and then walk over to the water and
Yeah.
drink. If you
So
don't
the other
have
ones,
something
the other
for
ones have rocks or marbles in it. If you want to have the Relief Society special, and us girls like to have our gardens look pretty. Water fountains are great if you put rocks in those fountains so that the bees have something to land on. Yeah, but they do need something to land on. They will drown. Installing. So getting our bees home alive. Again, if you're getting a nuke, it's going to come in this half box. The entrances will be shut, and typically the person you're buying it from will have it taped, so you just pick it up and bring it to your car, right? If there are any loose bees when you are in the car with either of these techniques, they're going to go for the windows. You can either roll down your window and let them out, or let them bump the window. They don't freak out thinking they're going to come and try and sting you in the car, because that, in my experience, just hasn't happened. They're more interested in trying to get outside and bumping the window.
Shelley, one more on that.
Yes,
If you guys are having a problem with the bees and it's kind of bugging them, crank the AC and roll your back windows down. It'll push them to the back and away they go.
it's a great idea. And I was going to say, no matter what, I do crank up the AC too. If it's cool in there, it calms them down instead of having your car be hot. So yeah, putting the AC on and cooling the car down while you've got them there.
You don't want it in a direct
Sunlight.
No, or the
sunlight.
Or direct blow. The other thing is that if you have a sheet that you can put over, just drape over it, we don't want to smother them, just drape over it. They also like to be cool dark. So that's a good way to get them home and keep everybody happy and ready when you get home. When you get home, you need to have everything ready. Your tools ready, hive tools, your smoker as a backup, your gear. I wear a veil since I got the sting above my lip and look like Kim Kardashian on steroids. I wear a veil and gloves no matter what I'm doing. I'm not the girl out of Texas that goes out and works her hives with her cowboy boots on, her Daisy Dukes, and gloves, and that's it. I'm just like, okay, I'm not her. So I always have gear on. You can choose to be what kind of beekeeper you want and take your own risks, but I don't like to get stung on my face. So have your hive ready to go. Again, your location up off the ground, mine are on cinder blocks. People showed at our beginner class some fabulous mounts that they had for their hives, and it's very inspiring to me. I don't know if I'll get to it this year, but that's what we're looking at. Okay, Preston, tell me what you do.
We're setting up. So we started with just the first box, and dumped out the entire. We got a package, and we dumped out all the bees in the middle. We took out all the frames first, and they were everywhere. And then we put the where's the queen?
Yep. So this is what we're looking at, right? So you gotta kind of loosen this up,
Oh,
right?
that's right.
You need to have a piece of cardboard or something that is this shape that's gonna go on top of here, right? So The first thing, oh, I don't want to do that to your microphone. All these bees, the minute I pull this sugar can off, what are they going to do?
Fly it.
They're going to come. So you take it in a firm like that. It knocks everybody down to the bottom. I take this can out and I put my cardboard on the top.
I'll just make a suggestion that I tried. Didn't have any cardboard. So I just put it like a towel, and that way I could open it just a little tiny bit, and then it was easier for me to maneuver it because it wasn't stiff and.
That's smart. So did you hear Becky just uses a towel? Yes, Bruce?
You can also spray them down with water.
Yep, and sugar water works too to calm them down.
Fast.
So our queen cage, I think there might be a queen in there. These are queen cages. If you're getting a plastic one from Lee, it's in here. And these are what they look like. And the big holes will have a plug in them.
He gives the wooden ones.
Some places don't give you the plug and you have to put like a marshmallow or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, they'll give you, Lee Knight gives you the plug, but if they're already plugged with a little piece of cork, you gotta carefully take that piece of cork out to be able to put the sugar plug in and not let the queen get out.
So I've got this covered. I took my sugar water out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, like Becky said, she slid it over, and then we slide this queen out so that we can get the queen out, and then cover it again. All right? Now that you have your queen out, what am I going to do?
I normally, what I did is I just set her off to the side and then took care of the bees first. But I guess after you just clip her on the frame.
Okay. So the first thing I would do, look in here and see if your queen is alive. Most of the time, she's going to be in here with a couple of nurse bees alongside of her. Look at her because you might not see her again for a few weeks. Look at her and see the difference between her and the other bees in there so that you can kind of grasp. You've seen pictures, you've seen everything of how a queen is different, you've watched YouTube, but look at her so that you can see your queen. On the end of here, there will be a cork plug. Lee Knight usually gives a candy plug. You can use that. Other things that you need to have ready at your house with your setup so that you don't have to go digging for it. A miniature marshmallow, frosting. Those are things that you can plug in this hole to keep your queen in here. We want to keep her in this cage for about 3 days. The reason we want to keep her in this cage is because she just barely met these cousins here in this. If we let her out with these bees in here, you have a high chance that they could kill her because they don't know her as being their queen. So we want to keep her in her cage for a few days so that everybody's cool, calm, and collected and gets used to their new house and used to her pheromones and ready for it. So you take your hive tool, you very gently pry this cork. When I do this, I do it over the hive. Why do I do it over the hive?
Because then she'll just fall down if she gets out.
Right.
Maybe.
Hopefully. She could fly away, and we've had that happen to people. So I keep my finger right there, pry that loose, get the cork, and keep my finger there. I get my plug, put on there. Now I'm going to put this in here. This little clip that we're going to bend over our frame to put in here is very brittle, fragile,
Lame.
lame,
Stupid.
stupid. I would have, the next thing you want to have is a big rubber band that goes around your frame. So you would think you would clip it like this, but you don't. The reason you don't is as it's put up against that other frame, what am I doing to it?
Smashing it.
I'm smashing this up against that other frame. She has no access to other bees feeding her, other worker bees, other nurse bees, and you are not giving them access to smell her. We want her turned, so,
There it is.
there it is.
Couldn't have done that.
I turn it to the side, I do it off center, and then I put my rubber band around it.
Do you have it below the board?
Do I what?
Top bar?
Is it below the
You have it below the top bar?
I
or
do.
the side?
I do have it below.
Is there only one side that has mesh?
Yeah,
All
on
the
this
rest are
one,
wooden?
on this one it does, yeah.
Normally, it's gonna be one side's mesh, but all three other sides are gonna be wood.
solid?
Yeah.
You wanna make sure that that mesh is open. If that mesh is towards the plastic in any way, shape, or form, they will not be able to get to the queen to attend to her, give her attendance, any kind of food. So you've got to make sure that that queen has access to the other bees have access to her,
Yes.
and it's not buried.
If she does fly out or fall, or you just SOL, or?
If she falls in the hive, then I'm gonna put the rest of the bees in there, and you have to hope that we're good, right? Unless you're really good at catching the queen and putting her back in there. And I personally, being a new beekeeper, would think that I would harm her more than being able to catch her.
Shelley, one more on that too. With the queen, if she does fall in and drop, if the other worker bees that are in there, sometimes they will fall the queen. So for all the new beekeepers, pay attention. If all of a sudden a cluster around a ball, the queen's in there. Try to get her out as quickly as possible so they don't sting her to death.
You're SOL.
Okay, so this goes in there. I don't have my rubber band. I do it off center. And then I create a hole kind of there, right? Oh. So I'm creating a funnel. So we also can create a funnel if you've got your next box ready to go. Okay, go ahead and put that down. Let's put this up on top. Okay, little bigger funnel.
It's an empty, right?
Yeah.
I've got this covered. I'm ready to add the bees. Now, with a package, you can do the Gentle Gen method. This is how we're labeling them. Gentle Gen method is you take these bees and you're just going to set them in here. And put the lid on. Put the lid on. This has got, it's not, it probably won't. You can just go ahead and put this top one on. And leave them. The bees will slowly come out of there and go into the hive.
I would not call this a gentle gen method. I would call this, we have rain, it is inclement weather, it's windier than hell. And stirring these bees up is not a good idea. So putting them in there in this fashion will allow the bees to gently move down on top of the queen. One thing she has not done at this point in time with the gentle gen method is she has not put all the rest of the frames in there. She should have put all the rest of the frames in the bottom box, put the rest of the bees on top, put the other box on top, and then the lid, and you're done. If it's rainy, if it's extremely windy, if it's cold, this is an extremely good method to do this installation. If it's fantastic weather, continue.
So if you've got crappy weather, like Mike's saying, you can use this method because you're just putting in there and they're contained in their house, right? And they don't really have to go outside and be stirred up. The other thing you can do is if it is pouring rain, terribly windy, and tomorrow's going to be a better day, you can keep your bees overnight in a dark, cool place, a root cellar, your garage, whatever, keep them somewhere dark and cool until the next day if the weather is going to be better. But if it's kind of like now and you come home and how it's lightly sprinkling like it was when we came to this meeting, this is a great method to put them in there, especially as it's starting to get evening. They're going to stay home with it being night. They're going to leave that box. So we're gonna leave them, like Mike said, we fill up the rest of that bottom frame. We're gonna leave them for 3 days. In 3 days, what are we gonna do?
Check them.
Okay, show me. So he's gonna get in, he's going to check. The other thing that I would do with this method is you've got your sugar water can. So I stuck my bees in there, and you can just take this can and put it over your frames while you have that box in there. There's room for that. So that they've got some nourishment in there. So you're gonna look in there to make sure your bees are out. If they're not out, not all out, what do you do?
You just pound them out.
You can shake them out, or you can set that box right in front of your hive, and they will find their way out of there to get into the hive. Now what do you do?
I check some of the frames. No.
What do I need to check?
Oh yeah, if the queen is out.
Okay, so you're gonna get in and you're gonna pull the frame that's got your queen on it. Always have your hive tool with you. So he's gonna pull the frame out that's got the queen on it.
Which isn't there.
This is gonna be a center frame, not an outside frame.
I usually do it off right center. You don't want it right underneath your feed. You don't want anything dripping on her. So I usually put her off center frame, and I don't have her right under my feed. So you're gonna pull that frame out. If she's not out, what am I gonna do?
Take the candy plug out or whatever.
So I wouldn't take all of it out, kind of chip it away so that it's half or 3/4 chipped away, so that the bees can now work and get the rest of that candy plug chipped away and release her. So we're at 3 days, right? If you get in there and your queen's not in there, they released her and she's in there. I don't go looking for her. You don't want to risk rolling her or killing her. This hive is just getting going. If she's gone, we put the frames back in there gently. I always come from the outside and push back towards the center slowly, because they love to run around the ends of your brace here, and we don't want to squish her. So we always backfill from the side, push them slowly back to the center, and then I close up house. And I don't look again. I know you're tempted. Do not look again for 7 days, 7 to 10 days. If you want to watch your bees, get a chair. Come sit. Don't get directly in front of the hive where their flight path is. Sit off to the side. You learn so much just watching your bees. You watch them bringing pollen in. You watch them orienting themselves, coming out, lifting their rear ends in the air and orienting themselves. So really important just to watch. If she's not released, we chip that candy plug away a little bit so that they can get it done, put it back in there and come back in a day to see if she's released. If she's not released, chip a little bit more away. After 5 days, I usually chip it away and let her go out on her own. Okay, any questions about that?
When you're installing the hive, do you want to use smoke at all?
You can. I would have smoke there as a backup. The bees generally are not protecting anything. This isn't their home yet. They aren't going to be aggressive coming at you and stinging, but I still wear protective gear. That makes sense.
I didn't
So-
wear gloves when I did it.
Yeah, and so that the gentle Jen method and the bad weather method is what I showed you. The Shelly Shake method is the other method.
That's the fun one.
So we have our queen offset, she's right on this frame. We have those middle frames, right? So that we've got a funnel.
Tilt it up against He's just showing what it looks like.
And then, so this is covered right. They're all coming around the edge, they're all nuts. I take it again, really nice and firm, right? And then you take it and you can come like this. Shake, 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 the Shelly Shake method. You're shaking all those bees in there. And they go in, and the bees that don't go in, you set it in front of your hive, and they will come out of your hive and go in there. Backfill your frames, shut it up just like we did before. Put your feed in there, put your lid on, check it in 3 days. If she's out, great. If she's not, chip it away, cover it back up, check again the next day. Okay, questions about installing it?
There's one back.
Yes?
How do you know if the queen bee died? Like, how do you know that eventually?
In your 7 to 10 days, when you check it, if you don't have eggs in that hive, yeah, you're looking for signs of life. Yeah, good question.
The can with the sugar water in it, that comes with,
That comes with it, but you need to be ready. You are going to feed this new package. This package of bees will need to be fed for the next, until they build, especially when you've got a new hive that does not have any wax built out and you don't have anything. You want to get your queen laying. She cannot lay until those worker bees make cells on that foundation for her to lay. They need the glucose water to do that. Yes?
You'll be feeding them until, depending on what type box you have, until you have either 2 deeps or 3 mediums, just about totally filled with wax and bees.
And it is quite amazing when they have what they need, how fast they can build wax out. It is, yes.
where does that can go in the hive when you've got all your frames? Is it can?
The can doesn't go in your hive.
Or does it-
So initially you can. So initially, if we've got the box in here, you can just set it up on top of your frames.
In the corner.
Then you need to decide how you want to feed your bees. Sorry, Janelle, I'm taking.
It's okay.
Then you need to decide how you want to feed your bees. You can do an in-hive feeder that goes in here. I personally feel like it drowns bees. Martin had a great top hive feeder that he brought to our beginner class that I will probably try. Gordon, sorry. And I personally use a migratory lid. My migratory lid is a little more sturdy than this, but it's got a hole that sits on the top. So you feasibly, will you lift this box up? You could have this lid on top.
This is what I
This could be a canning jar that you have filled with 1-to-1 sugar syrup, and you just punch a couple of holes in it, and then you set it right there, you put that back on,
and then your lid.
put your lid on.
Let the gravity feed start before you just dump
Yeah.
it, because I've had it just suck out if you don't let that.
I do, on my canning jar, I hold it here until I get a vacuum,
Yeah.
and then I put it back there. So, good point.
Shelley, just one more, I want to just touch back with the queen, with the 7 to 10 days afterwards. Sometimes even still with the queen getting out, go in and look, if there's still no eggs or anything in there, see if you can find a queen. Something could have still happened to her in that time to where she's no longer viable, to where you're gonna need to go get a new queen for the colony. Sometimes it also takes them just a little longer to get themselves going, so.
And if they don't have wax built out, so you look at your frames, and see, again, if it's in a good location, if they have what they need to build that wax out, or if they're slow to build out cells.
Yeah, don't buy cheap equipment, especially with your foundation. Make sure that that foundation actually, when you touch it with your fingers and a thumb, that it is sticky pretty much all the way through that foundation, which is going to indicate a pretty good wax buildup on the foundation. I'm not going to name any particular local box stores, but there are some box stores that the foundation is dried out, it's not got a good buildup of wax on it, and therefore the bees will actually build out
Off of it.
above and
Tunnel,
that kind of tunnel the foundation.
instead of laying it down.
Yeah, instead of actually building on the foundation.
And if you
bringing it
have
down.
access to wax, you can melt wax and take a paintbrush and
Yeah.
paint wax onto your frames, just paint it. It gives your bees a resource. They will lift up that wax and start making cells.
Yeah.
A similar trick I've done to painting it is when, like, I'll have a ball of wax in my bee yard usually, and if I have some of those that they're not drawing out on well, or if they're doing that thing where they're making the tunnel, I'll scrape that off and then have the ball of wax and just rub it on there and like scribble it on, and I've come back
That's a
later and seen
great,
it
that's a
draw
great
out really well.
suggestion.
You said frosting, was that just any frosting with the queen, just a little bit?
Yep, I just fill that,
Make sure it's
I fill
enough.
that hole up with frosting. Yep, just pack it in there.
The color of foundation, I think too, they do make different colors.
He's
people
talking
that-
about
If you
white or
can't
black.
see or not see.
I like the black because you can't see the eggs better with black. If you get to choose, black is good.
One other precaution I'll give, helps a good fair amount of people. They have purchased frames and foundation off of Amazon. I recommend not doing that. They do not come very well waxed. And you're gonna end up having to go in and re-wax everything, so.
Unless they come from a regular manufacturer where they have stores on Amazon.
Yeah.
There was another question back here somewhere. No? Okay. Yeah, that's kind of Reader's Digest version. If you have any questions on B-Day, give me a call, text me, walk through. It really is not as complicated as we're making it seem. Do you know, I know Sam's like, and it is scary to be around your bees that first time. That is a little bit unnerving to get used to it.
Shelley back there, we got a question.
Back left.
Yes.
I was gonna say, just go watch a bunch of videos on YouTube, people introducing the bees to their hives, and you'll get a really good idea of what it takes. It's not that, like you say, it's not that complicated, and there's so many videos and resources out there to watch it over and over again.
There are. The main thing is you want to protect your queen. And yeah, you're just going to have your home set up so that everything's ready to go. You should be able to do this process in 5 minutes. Really quickly, your nuke, if you're buying a nuke and you have 5-frame nuke, your nuke is already ready to go, right? The only thing that I will tell you about your nuke is that everything you do, you're going to hold over your hive so that you don't have your queen jump off while you're moving her. So your nuke box is a box that's half this size, has 5 frames in it. So definitely take out 5 frames, if not more. You can take out the whole one side. So I'm going to, if you want, you can look for your queen in your nuke box, but I would set my nuke box right next to my hive, and I take them 1 frame at a time and I install them right over my hive box so that I do not lose my queen. I don't care if the other bees go flying off and want to check out the neighborhood. My queen needs to stay here. So everything, my movement, everything is that box is right next to it. I put those 5 frames in the middle, and get them all in the middle and settled, and then I again backfill those frames. If you leave your queen in here and don't take her out like we were talking on the package, or you leave space in there, bees are really good at filling up space. You will come back in 10 days and it will be full of burr comb. Yeah, it'll be a mess. So it's important that once you get everything situated, that everything's filled up. Sam?
If I remember right, we don't want to buy Duragilt foundation.
Yes.
We use that one.
Duragilt.
Not a good foundation.
So installing a nuke is really easy. You put your 5 frames in, put these other frames back in, come from the side, slowly move them over. Queens usually run to the dark. So if you've got it in there, she usually will go for the frames that are back away from the light over here. But you just want to make sure you are protecting her. Get your other frames in there. You're going to put your lid on and leave it for 7 days. Sam?
Everything you do is move in slow motion because you are probably the queen's biggest, worst enemy. Probably killer.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, Becky.
So if you have a nuke and you put the 5 frames in the middle, the frames on the outside will be bare, so you don't put the honey on both ends instead.
You could, but I like, especially on a nuke, and you can move those around when you get back in. I like it closer to where they are so that they don't have to go back out. But you're right, you could hopscotch and put a blank frame next to them and put your honey frame on the outside.
And then if you're putting a package in a hive that's been before but no longer lives there,
Yes.
Is it important to use the sugar water to help them, even though the wax foundation is probably built out?
Just not as long.
Yeah, you'll know when they quit taking it. Oh, sorry, that was like the rushed version. Okay, Janelle.
Okay. Well, that's bright. That's my Shelley. I'm shorter. How many of you have bees that made it through the winter? Yeah. Yay! I know, clap, right? We're so excited. And I won't ask for the hand of shame, right? I'm just kidding. That's right. I'm just kidding. It's not really the hand of shame, because that's just really what it's about with beekeeping. Sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes we feel like we did a really good job getting them ready for winter and they still don't make it. So we're going to talk about splits and swarming a little bit, and I will keep it pretty short. How many of you this is your first winter that they survived, like not your second year of beekeeping? Second year of beekeeping. So yeah, so we've got some, not everybody has heard this, but we know that when a hive swarms, it's, okay, and I wanted to preface this. For those of you who are first year beekeepers who have never even had bees, you can just say, I don't understand a word that's coming out of her mouth and not feel bad at all about that. But the bees, to propagate the species, they will swarm come springtime. You are going to be watching your hives for swarm cells, which my first year of beekeeping, I think I called Mike and Sam about 75 times because I thought my bees were swarming. They weren't. But we do want to control swarms. One reason, you want to be a good neighbor. You do not want your bees to go to your neighbor's house and take up residency in their house, and then they have to pay or ask you to pay to get it removed, right? Like, I really feel like you should be a good beekeeper. We're watching for swarms. As soon as you see drones, you know that you better be prepared, be watching for that. So you need to decide, are you going to let them swarm and then catch them, or are you going to do a split and hopefully they won't? But I will say, you can split and sometimes they still will. I split one hive last year, or 2 years ago when it was buster year. I split one hive, pulled it off, did the walkaway split, and the next day I went out and they swarmed from my split. And I was like, what are you doing? So I caught them, went and took them back into another one. They left bees behind. It wasn't like they all absconded. So these ones are building a queen, and then I've got my swarm that I just caught from this hive that I have made from this hive. So I have 3 from this one. I got 5. They swarmed like a week later again. This queen was just like, I'm out of here. I do not want to be in this yard, but she finally stayed.
What do you mean when you say watch for drones? Like in?
So you're going to
around
watch
your
for the
hive?
male bees, yeah, in your hive.
So your queen starts making drones this time of year.
So your queen's going to start making drones as a nice thing, right? She's like, there are going to be swarms and we want to help that. So she sends them, she makes them so they'll go out and help other hives, other queens that are going to be mating. So yeah, you're watching for that. You want to, one of the things you want to do in the spring, you want to give them space so they feel like they have, they don't live in a mini home. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about that. What time? When are you doing that? When are people have people started to do that yet, or is it you waiting for like the first nectar flow
Yeah.
to come on before you do that?
Yeah.
I have a comment on that. Locally, I've done this for over 20 years. Locally, there's been, it seems like tax day is right around when swarm season
15th.
unofficially begins. It can be earlier if the first pollen came earlier than usual, or it can be a little later if it was like last year.
Tax
But-
day or individual?
April 15th.
Well, just the April 15th.
Okay.
Yeah, so give or take a week. I mean, I had a swarm into my back into a stack of boxes I had out back, like all scented and stuff for that purpose. But I had one land in there like I think April 9th once, so it was like maybe within a week earlier. But so
But
yeah,
if
give or
you're-
take a week, like about.
But if
10
you're
Mine are
if
like,
you're
they're all in
busting-
the top, and she's building like crazy, and they're not even using the bottom edge. I just wonder.
So one of the things you want to do that some beekeepers do, this is a personal beekeeping thing, but you can take your top box and swap it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then if I did that one spring and they just moved back up and then they left that bottom box empty. I was like, so you think.
Well, if there's brood in it.
Yeah, if there's
it'll
brood,
leave
that's a
there.
totally
Yeah.
different thing. So if they're using both boxes, then yeah, I would definitely add. I don't know Sam, when do you put on a super in the spring? Do you?
Space, an extra box?
Just depends on how full the other boxes are.
Yeah.
I rarely swap,
You just add.
just because of, depends on what the frames are filled with eggs. You know, if it's all in one box, I might then move it down, but if it's going over 1.5 boxes or something like that, then I may not, I may just leave it. Generally, I leave it, let them do their thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's good just to leave it and let them. I know last year I got into one of my boxes. I thought this hive is going crazy, and I got in. They had the bottom box was completely empty, and so it was still a strong hive. It just wasn't as gangbusters as I thought it was because that bottom box was empty.
If you find that out after a while, I wouldn't move it up.
Yeah.
So it gets.
So like early May
To
maybe
make sure, pardon?
would be like early May you'd do that, or
Yeah.
even later.
Just depends on how they are building out.
Yeah.
If they're building out, that's, especially a new one, you know, when you reach your, well, no, I guess your second year, if their population is building across the 7-8 frames,
Yeah.
they're working on all of them.
That's another.
And in the bottom, when
7
they're not
tenths.
really doing much, you might want to take a look and see.
It's an old
You can tell
comb.
what's going on there, but I would possibly just then swap it out.
And you put the top one on the bottom.
Yeah, or maybe even just doing some frames, pulling it down, just like if you add a second
Checkerboard.
box, you can checkerboard it, like bring some stuff, can kind of manipulate it that way. I don't necessarily love the swapping of the boxes because then they say you have to swap them back. I don't know why you would have to swap them back, but some people, it's not my favorite. I'd rather just take a couple frames up and down and know that they're doing it.
How much does temperature play with that? Because those bees will pick up off the bottom, right, if it's still cool,
Yeah.
and they won't want to be down in the bottom just because of the temperature.
Right, and obviously you're not gonna even be getting in there. I mean, if it's a cold spring, you're not getting in there anyway to check.
What temperatures are we looking at, though?
So,
Like
yeah.
60 to 70 degree
Yeah,
days
yep.
before you want to mess with anything?
Yeah, I wouldn't get into it. 60 is when, is above 60, yeah. I won't get in. What's that?
Consistently.
Consistently, yeah.
And a little above 65 degrees before you start falling over.
Well, yeah, depending on where you live, right?
Yeah.
It can be colder, and you know, you might be a little bit. So swarms, usually it's around April 15th.
Yeah.
We usually, it's about the 12th. But again, depends on the year. Sometimes they're a little later, sometimes they're earlier. Chris?
I'm fortunate enough to have the ability to go south to take stuff that's pretty weak, or that I'm a little concerned it's not gonna make it through the winter time. I took 4 colonies down to St. George, to get through the winter. 2 of them, at this point, I had to go down and put another box on top of them, because they'd already filled 2 boxes. We took them down with 2 boxes with the food. I won't split them down there because I know not far from where we're at, my brother-in-law's got friends that's got killer bees. I know that's Africanized bees, because they're good bees, they're not bad bees.
Yeah, so you don't want those drones. You don't want that genetics.
I wanted to do a split to have the queen go off and have the potential to mate with Africanized drones,
Right.
and bring back a hot colony up here.
Right.
So I'm building up my boxes to when I do bring them up here in 2 or 3 weeks, I will do a split with those.
Then you can split, yeah.
When you were talking,
Mike, go ahead.
You're talking about weather and temperatures and so on and so forth. Yes, 60 degrees is a good time, but if it's windy,
Oh, yeah.
please remember you've got the wind chill as well as low pressure system coming through. Your bees could be very hot just because of the low
The
pressure
temperature.
and the wind. So although it might be 60 degrees according to your phone or your thermos.
Yeah, go with the feels like temperature, right?
Yeah,
Like,
go with what the field temperature feels like rather than what actual temperature is.
Right.
So you might want to wait until 65, 70 degrees, a calm day without a lot of wind. Otherwise, you might have some pretty hot girls coming out.
Okay, when he says hot, he means grumpy.
Grumpy.
He's not meaning temperature hot.
Yeah, not temperature hot, although they might light you up.
that's right. Okay, yeah, go ahead and skip. Well, so this is a picture of queen cells. Generally, swarm cells are going to be down at the bottom, you see, and you're going to usually have multiple. See Shelley circling that. This other one is also queen cells. They look very much like a peanut. So if you're not sure, unless it looks like a peanut, you're probably, it might be a drone cell. I've had people like, oh, I've got 6 queen cells in this hive, and they're not queen cells. And that's okay, because we all learn, right? By like, that's what I did to Mike and Sam about 75 times in that first year, because I was so worried about them swarming. Yeah, Sam?
You start doing along the bottom.
Yeah.
It could be any place.
Right, if you've got them in the bottom.
And they've already decided they're swarming.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, these hives, they're a goner. You're not gonna, some people say, oh, just knock down the queen cells and then they won't swarm. No, they are going to swarm. There's not a question of if, it's when.
So can you move some of those frames into a new
So
box?
if I walked into my hive, you know, mid-April, and I get in and I say, oh, this is what I see, I pull out my frame right here, and I'm like, right here along the bottom, I see swarm cells. I know this hive is gonna go. So it's not like I can just change their mind. They know that this is full. Adding an extra box is not gonna change their mind at that point. So what I would do is I'm gonna take these swarm cells out and put them into a different box.
Easy on the back,
What's that, Mike?
I said easy on the back, because I can't hear you over.
Oh, yeah, there's some people talking and they can't.
Quiet in the front. Let her, the person speaking, talk.
Okay, so there's some people that can't hear because you guys, so sorry, that's all right. So on the bottom of the swarms, like if I were to get in and see those swarm cells, then I would want to take out all of those swarm cells out of this hive. I'm going to get bees out. One of the things, there's different ways you can do it. There's an even split where you just divide everything in half. There's a walkaway split, where you just take your top box and you move it to a new location. Some people move it 2 miles away or whatever. Other people are going to, I just put mine actually right next to it when I do a walk away. Thanks. I'm not that quiet, am I? I have.
They can hear you, just hold it up there.
Yeah, so anyway, that you're gonna check in a few weeks to see what happens at that point. You wanna make sure that whatever you do when you do a split, you're gonna wanna make sure that both hives have eggs, so that they can both make a queen, whichever one doesn't have the queen. I think, for me, after doing a lot of walkaway splits, I think the key is to find the queen and move her into the new location rather than leaving her in the hive where she was wanting to swarm from. That's
You're simulating nature.
I'm essentially making them swarm. You just left and now you're in a new home, and I give them new frames, empty frames, so they realize like, oh, we did go. I don't know how we got here, but we definitely changed. So that's something I feel like. The atypical is the same as above. You're just gonna split it, but you're gonna introduce a queen, not let them rear their own queen. So
when you introduce a queen, it's just like when we put a package in.
Yeah.
You need to go through the same steps. You're gonna put her in, you're gonna leave her 3 days with that split of bees so that they can get used to her. And because their inclination is to go kill her.
Yeah, and a lot of times they will kill her. Shelly and I've had that where we've put in new queens and then they just take them out, and you got to put in a new one. And especially if they've been a while without a queen, they're more likely. So sometimes this is why I suggest 2 hives rather than 1, because you never know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Where do you get your queens? I've not bought queens.
So the question is, where do you get your queens? I'll open it up to you guys that have bought queens. Lots.
That's nice.
Yes.
You guys right here, they buy them. Yeah, they will.
Honeybee Company.
What? Say that again.
The Honey Company, Grace Springs, and I help them.
The Honey Company.
Okay.
Sam?
They have some bees, queens left over usually
After.
I don't know if
like
it's gonna
that.
happen this year, but Lee usually gives me some queens to help take care of, first of all, those packages where the queens die.
Uh-huh.
And that's usually, he gives you a 5-day window if you contact them, and then after that, I potentially can sell them.
Yeah, so he said Lee Knight, he helps and holds on to queens because Lee doesn't live locally. So he holds on to the queens, and there's a 5-day window for those that have bought packages, and then if there are leftovers, then you can buy queens from him usually. So I honestly generally just let my bees do their own thing and make their own. I'm not usually in a hurry. So is that good or bad? I don't know. But it saves me money because it's an expensive hobby.
You can order them online and they're pretty pricey.
Yeah, you can order them online, yeah. They'll ship them to you.
You
Right?
pay for it.
But setting up for your split is just going to be just like you setting up to get your package,
Yeah,
right?
it's a lot, very similar.
You need to have your
Bottom board
everything
and
ready
another
to
box.
go. Have everything ready to make this transition.
Yeah, you had a question?
I guess I'm not fully understanding. So if you take the bees that are going to hatch and you put them in a new box, isn't the old queen gonna want to swarm and leave that original box?
So that's what I'm saying. She doesn't necessarily. So part of it is just that they want to propagate the species. This is my understanding. So anybody wants to correct me? I get corrected all the time at home. I'm used to it. No. So they want to propagate the species. So what really, you just need to take away a big chunk, and then they're like, oh, look, there's not as many. But that's what I was saying. For me, I feel like it would be more beneficial sometimes. It depends on the queen, because I've done walkaway splits where you just take the top box, move it to the bottom, put on a new lid, and set on a second box. I've had a lot of success with that. But that one year, that queen, 5 times, she was like, I'm out of here. We're going to go do this again. It was a really big colony. But I honestly think had I found her and moved her to this empty box with some of the bees, I think that she wouldn't have been as inclined to swarm because there wasn't such a huge number. And by the time, I feel like if you let them rear their own queen, by that time, it's kind of later in the season. Whereas if I put in a brand new queen, she might feel like, wow, there's tons of bees in here, and might want to, I don't know. That's kind of been my thought. It's probably wrong. Mike's shaking his head
So, no.
at me. No,
So,
Martin.
just so people know, last year, the swarm that came to my house wasn't until June. So, they'll swarm anytime they want to swarm.
Yeah, generally there is a time window, you know,
But
generally speaking.
I had a box out just thinking I'd put the box away on my porch, and they showed up.
Last year was a late year though, too, wasn't it, Martin?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have our first, really, Mike, right? Last year, May 13th, we were still doing swarms.
Yeah.
It was really late last year. Yeah.
As far as what you're saying, as far as pulling the queen
Yeah.
and getting her to a new box, everybody needs to understand when a swarm occurs, the queen is leaving and she is pulling 50 to 60% of the bees out of that hive with her without any resources, no brood, no wax, no nothing.
Right.
And she's going to a new location. So do not be afraid if you're going to do a split to literally
Give her
grab the
nothing.
queen, dump 50% of the bees into that new box, isolate that box for 3 days, meaning you're going to close
Close the
front
entrance.
make sure they have ventilation, obviously. Close the front entrance with ventilation, isolate that queen for 3 to 4 days, and then open that box up. What you've done is you have completely caused everybody to now reorient to a new box and a new location.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and Mike, and like you're saying too, sometimes what I'll do when I do that split is I take out a frame and I'll just shake those bees, and then I put this back, and then I shake these bees, and then I put this back, and I'm gonna shake, you know, and then I just leave whatever's left. But
You shake them into the new box?
You're really wanting to get the nurse bees to go with the queen. All of those bees, they're now into a box, they have no resources, they have nothing there except for some food on top and some ventilation. And that will definitely cause a reorientation and hopefully keep that original queen there. Now what happens with the rest of the queen cells inside? As Janelle said, kept swarming. And that regeneration instinct is still there.
yeah, because when I did it last year, and I did move some of the swarm cells with her, so I'm sure she was like, oh well, we got
still have swarm cells.
yeah. So really, just that empty.
You really don't want to queen with any brood or swarm cells or anything. Get her into it. It's just like your package. When you're shaking her in as a new package, she doesn't have any resources. None of those bees have anything there. So
Yeah.
just keep that in the back of your mind of what that mental state of that hive is.
Yeah, and this is like this says like the bees have been preparing for it for days. So sometimes you get in when you find it, they've already decided to move, right? Like
Mentally, they've already done it.
yeah, they've already done it. Most commonly, it's going to be earlier in the season. We know that they generally will go on a warm day. Sometimes I called Shelly one year and I was like, "What are they thinking?" They swarmed to the tree and an hour later it was snowing. Like I was, you know, it's not even a warm day. They're not going to make it. And Mike said this, they're going to leave with half to 2/3 of the hive. So if you do let them swarm, you are losing a lot of your bees, like a substantial amount, starting you kind of back at scratch. Listen to your elders. A swarm of bees in May is worth a load of hay. A swarm of bees in June is worth a silver spoon. A swarm of bees in July is not worth a fly. So if somebody calls you in July and says they have a swarm, I mean, there's not many of us that jump at that point in the year. We're like, that's nice.
But they can be combined with another.
Yeah, they can. If you know what you're doing. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but you're gonna find swarms usually in the spring and early summer, you can set a trap, you know, set up a swarm box. You can join the swarm list and volunteer to be a helper to gain experience. I do not recommend just watching a YouTube video and going and trying it on your own. This is one, please go with somebody, watch.
Especially when they're in a chimney.
Yeah, if they're in a chimney, yeah, don't, stay away, right? You're gonna have equipment ready. So a lot of times, like in the spring and stuff, I'll have a box. I usually have a sheet, a hive tool.
We got the next
slide. Oh, yeah.
to show that.
Yeah, but that Shelley says on the next slide. But safety, is this a swarm you should get? This last summer, I've got a lot of swarms. I called Mike, I said, there's no way we can get this one, it's so high. Maybe you have some equipment. So he came out, he could have done it, but they were ready to go, so they moved on.
And they left just as I got there.
He climbed up the ladder and they went, that was too long. They're usually docile. they're not going to be aggressive that time. Bees it's usually because they need to protect their home and they don't have a home. They know that. Their stomachs are full of honey. I've heard they're so full of honey they can't reach their stingers up and sting you because they can't get their belly. It's garbage, but know your limitations.
So how
right?
long will they stay out?
It depends. I've seen them stay in a tree for hours, 8, and I've seen them stay for about 15 minutes. So you don't know really how much time you've got.
But not
And
like
I've seen
overnight.
them build
They
wax
can.
in the tree.
Yeah, sometimes they'll build wax in a tree. Yeah, they're ready to stay there, maybe even. So breathable box of wood or some cardboard, but you know, make sure it's breathable. A light colored sheet, bee brush, pruning shears, lemongrass oil if you want. I've never had that, but you can. A box with old wax. They really like the smell. It's like, oh, this is definitely a good place. Other bees have been here, made this home. And then protective gear.
And then you've got your friend.
Yeah, so, yeah, this is out in nature. They'll look, you know, depending, that's a pretty good size, depends on how big that is. I've got this, which is not mine, but, so see this amazing tool you can get, and then it's expandable. You can unscrew it, it's a painting stick, make it longer, but then you take this bucket and you can put it on the end of here. So then when I go to like a tree, you can just take it and hit it on the branch, you know, like this.
And they'll fall in.
And they'll fall in. Then you take this thing down, and then you can dump it right into your box. We haven't used that yet, but I know Mike has one. You've used yours, right, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
I have several different extension poles.
Yeah. Yep, so,
I got one quite that long. But
yeah, that one is super long. Yeah. That's for me. It was made for me. I heard that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so please don't try it like by yourself if you've never, go with somebody, call somebody, you know, just say if you ever do a swarm or,
why do you use the sheet?
So that's what I was gonna say. I have my sheet. When I go, if I were to go, I see this in the tree. Junior high calls me and says we have a swarm in the tree. True story. They called Mike. I went to our junior high. But I take a sheet. I put it down on the ground. Then I put my bottom board, and then or just depends on how you're doing it. But bottom board, and then you put your box on top. I take out a couple of frames from the middle or from the sides, and then I would just go and do it however. Now, if it were low enough, I have a tree that they love to swarm to, and I love it because it's about right here for me. So what I do is I put my box right on the ground, and then I take it and I shake the thing, and they fall right down in. Or you can use the bucket, catch it in the bucket, dump it in. Just depends on where they are, how they are, and you can tell a lot whether or not you have the queen. I know that you can dump some here if you think you've got the queen, catch more. Pour them on the sheet out in front of the hive. If you have the queen in there, they'll line up and march right into the hive. It's really amazing to watch. It's a really cool thing. You can see it, yeah.
I was going to say, if you've done it over grass, things like that, you'll see they'll have a hard time, a challenge getting to the hive, and the sheet gives them a nice flat surface that they can
walk right
into
on.
the hive.
Yeah, and And you can also see, so this is something that I have learned, and I think several of us the last few years, but usually when they swarm, they're going to take some virgin queens with them. That way, if there is anything that happens to the queen, because they're going somewhere with probably no wax, probably no eggs, which means they can't make a queen. So they go with virgin queens, and there can be seven, and then I guess once they get there and they get established in their new place, I don't know, fight to the death, or they just kick out the queen, I'm not quite sure, but you can see queens as they're going in too that are virgin queens, which I did see that. I was able to catch 2 from a swarm, and I had the marked queen, so I was like, oh, nice, take those, and I was able to put those into a different hive. So, Chris, did you have a
I'm just
question?
gonna say, with like the branch where you had this perfect height for shaking, if you get one of those, keep in mind you might need to move the box to the side just a little bit, because as you shake, it's going to swing it down.
Right.
And that'll direct them where they need to go.
Yeah, it's not always directly underneath, because yeah, that branch is gonna bend down. Another thing you can do, right, you go, it happens, the other tree they really love is my neighbor's backyard tree, so I have this understanding I can go in their backyard if I see one in their tree, but I've even asked permission, can I clip a branch if I need to? So you can take the pruning shears, that was one of the things, take it, grab the branch, carry it with the bees hanging on it, and then you can shake it over the box that way too. So
What about fence?
fences, then you call Mike and tell him that you want some, no, I'm just kidding. I have had one of them, my very first one, it went into a grapevine in a fence, in a chain link fence. Oh, it was a pain in the neck. We had to go to one side, and of course, it wasn't just my backyard neighbor, but you have to go clear around the block to them. So we have to go clear around the block, we'd get the handful, and put it in the bucket, hand it over the fence, then we'd walk back over, then we'd have to like get it through, because they would come to this side, then until we got the queen. And then we were able to get them to come. But man, that vacuum, I don't have those tools. I just have my hands.
If you have a frame that's got wax filled up on it,
you can put it sideways, right, Mike?
frame next to those bees, they'll draw out
Yeah.
onto that frame. And then take that frame and shake it in
Shake
your
it.
box, go back with that frame, or if you have multiple frames, you can then, use and transfer those frames as those bees go in. Eventually, the queen more than likely will crawl onto one of those frames, but you see her or not, and then all of a sudden, all of the bees, like Janelle was saying, will just start marching. And march is quite an impressive thing, but they will then just automatically head into the box.
You do have to know this, like especially like on a tree or something. The queen has left a pheromone there, so
Yes.
it's not unlikely. Like you dump the bucket, and then you'll see all these bees that come flying up in the air, and then some of them will go right back to that same spot. So you kind of watch them for a few minutes to see, are they all going back out of the hive, all of them going up? Because they will. Some of them will go up and like tell them, oh, she's actually down here. But sometimes you didn't get the queen, and then they will, just leave here and go up there and then come down. So you have to kind of know what you're looking for and move from there. Where to put a bait box, you can put it up in a tree, put it down on the ground. If they go to the same place every year, I put one right underneath where they had been swarming so that they would go there. But I used it to catch the swarm the next time, so it was already there. Know your limits. This is what we talked about. Yeah, question.
I spent long terms at the bait box. What's the preferred bait you put inside? I've used the oil before, was cotton in a Ziploc with some gold punch in it.
Yeah.
So is there a preferred bait?
There is a very expensive little tube that's small. It's called Swarm Commander.
Yeah.
It's expensive, it's pricey.
Yeah, another thing.
Put that on a cotton ball and stick it in there.
Somebody else said when you do have a queen, let's say you don't like her, she's old, you're replacing her, you can save that queen, squish her, but then put her in some rubbing alcohol, and you're creating your own.
Dark bottle.
Yeah.
A brown dark bottle.
Yes.
So.
I have about 10 queens that are soaking in alcohol right now.
So you're making your own swarm, trap
Queen juice.
queen juice. know your limits. Like I said, that one, I've caught a lot, and I called Mike and I said, I can't do this, you wanna come and see. But also, you know, you're not gonna go to your neighbors and say, oh yeah, I can cut that out of your house, you don't know what you're doing. If you're a construction person, fine, but even then, be wise.
You can damage houses, but you also want to be a good neighbor and you don't want to have your bees go create this at somebody's house.
Oh yeah, that's what I've said to my neighbors. If you see a swarm, you call me, because I'm not gonna, I don't want them in their house, right? I am very vigilant with my hives in the spring. And I also feel like I try and mark my queens so that when I get in the spring, I can kind of have a good idea, like, nope, she's still there. It wasn't for me, because she's marked, and so that's the way I kind of make sure I keep tabs on it. Okay?
Yep.
Any other questions? Appreciate you coming.
I do have a
Yeah,
question.
Becky.
When you put that box on top of the other box, there was quite a bit of space around, it was kind of wobbly. I have a couple of those, and so if you're putting a new frame or new bees in there.
Was it like this, you mean?
No, it was between the two boxes.
Okay.
But it was big enough space that a bee can climb through there.
Okay, I get what you're saying, like this.
Yeah, let's see if it's got it.
Yeah, it's not.
Then when I put the lid on,
Yeah.
I put some weight up on top of the lid and it will kind of level it out a little bit.
I put a ratchet strap on
I
mine.
say some people tie down straps.
Yeah, I just put on all my hives, I've got a ratchet strap that goes underneath and it comes up on the top and it holds it down together, and every time I get in it, I just undo it. It helps with the raccoons in our neighborhood. Animals, you know, if my kids were to bump into it, the whole hive is one thing rather than it's like, they knock this box and then these bees come off. So yeah, either that or put the lid on and you've got a really big rock or something. But I like the ratchet strap. So that's what I do on mine, and that does take up the gaps. But bees will also fill it too. Yeah.
You mentioned moving the queen to a new hive.
Yeah.
And then closing her in, but allowing ventilation. How do you create ventilation
So-
without letting holes
So
down?
one, if you have a screen bottom board, but some people don't. I didn't until this last year. But you can also go to like Home Depot and get some screen and tape it here, or fold it in half and then kind of shove it in. So it's like a triangle, but it goes in this direction. So they can't get out, but air can still go in.
Make sure it's hardware cloth.
Shove them in there.
Hardware
Not
cloth.
that way.
like windows.
Just be
Yeah.
very careful, you'll be shaking a box.
What's that?
Just be very careful, you'll be shaking a box,
If you put in stuff?
shaking out the dead.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
make sure you have ventilation.
yeah, one
There's
year.
a reason why you and I are laughing at each other.
Yeah, because Daniel one year, he closed his up really well with Mike's help.
Not really. But yes, it got closed up very, very well.
It got very well, so when they opened it up, there were lots of bees, but not one was alive. So, yeah, so you do want to have ventilation, get a screen bottom board. You can, I bought this 2 years ago, I bought for the top. It's just, it's a board, it's like this, but it's screened at the top. And I love it. I've used it a lot for different things, but so like that. Or if I have a really angry colony and I'm like, I'm not sure if you're gonna live. I have that on so I don't have to open up again. I could just pour water over and kill them. I haven't done that yet, but there was one hive that was really close.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was an awful queen. And so I really did, I just was like, I'm not letting you out. I closed this up and I left this ventilated. And I was like, I'm gonna just come in back in a couple weeks and see how you're doing. If you're mean again, you're getting alarmed. So, yeah, but I really like that lid. Just so it's something to give the ventilation.
Popsicle sticks. Put them along here. You haven't left enough space for bees to come out.
But they can.
You created ventilation between the boxes.
Yeah. Popsicle sticks. Yeah. Okay. What's that? Any other questions? I'm good.
We covered what they normally would cover in hours.
I know, sorry. That was like baptism by fire.
But the main thing is, over this next month, especially all of us that are coming out of winter, we're watching the weather. As soon as I'm above 60, I've only opened my lid to make sure I've had food source. So make sure you've got enough food. Bees starve this time of year because we don't have nectar at all for them yet. They're bringing in pollen. If you're watching your bees, they're bringing in pollen. So what that does, the pollen is a protein source. It stimulates the queen to start laying. So make sure you've got feed. She's starting to lay. She's going to be laying drone cells. So she's starting to beef up even though we're not ready. And so as we start getting into
those warm days,
things are going to start moving fast.
So Shelley, have you transferred from a sugar board to liquid?
I have
now?
not yet.
You're still doing sugar board?
I am, because I have it in there.
That's fine.
I haven't had to add yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you have to add, then you could think about it.
So once it's above 60 and it's getting to be a warm day, I'm gonna get in my box, look a little deeper, try and decide if I'm gonna flip-flop boxes. And if I'm full, I'm gonna add another
super.
box up on top, and then I'm gonna look at liquid feed too. So those are some things that I'm looking at. So have a plan of what you're going to do as you're getting into the box, what you're going to be looking for. And then for us, if you're going to do splits and you're going to save your bees, you need to have a whole nother hive setup.
Yes.
So you need to be ordering right now, top, bottom, a box and frames, and get it ready for your split.
And have 2 more than you think you need.
That link right now.
Don't you think?
10%.
10% off tonight, right?
Some of their stuff, it's marked down plus 10%. I just ordered a ton of stuff from those guys, so.
Man Lake. Yeah, they have a discount right now. MANN.
Shelley, when you did your,
Man Lake LTD.
you do not sell it as a drip?